You've seen her on television, on the radio, you might have read her books, and this weekend you can see her in person. Today we're joined by Paula Poundstone. Paula, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start early back. Let's start at the childhood. What made you fall in love with comedy and the idea of being a comedian?
Oh, probably seeing really, well, I love the sound of laughter. I love the reaction of laughter. Probably for really boring chemical reasons, probably because it produces endorphins. I consider myself a proud member of the endorphin production industry. But also, when I was little, I saw really great, comics on TV. I had my parents got Bill Cosby albums when they came out, and we watched the Smothers Brothers and Lucille Ball and.
So then developing it through, I mean, obviously you had some really great people to base your act off. How did you develop yourself as a comedian? What does one do, and what advice might you have?
Go to open mic nights. It's very simple. You go to open mic nights. You do your 5 minutes at an open mic night. You sign up. Anybody who wants to can go up for 5 minutes. That's how those things work. And then you think of 5 minutes of jokes. You write it down. You memorize it. And then you go do it on open mic nights, and you do lots of those, and each time after you do a set, it's good to watch other people doing their sets as well, and then you have perhaps some juice or some water and reflect.
I love it. Hey, it's funny, though, because you're kind of different than the average stand-up who just gets up and has a prepared list of things that they think are funny. You're also kind of an improviser. Your shows are very intimate, and you react with the audience.
Well, 'cause that's the fun part. But I kind of came to that because I would go to do those open mic night 5 minutes, and I lived in Boston when I started. And I would go to do my big 5 minutes, which I had spent, the week memorizing. Often while I was bussing tables, my lips would be moving because I was memorizing. And then I would go on and forget what I was going to say. And then I would sort of be forced to improvise. And this would happen repeatedly, and I'd feel like such a loser, that I couldn't put my act together. And then one day it dawned on me that what I was doing when I forgot what I was supposed to do was often the fun part. And but even then, I had to have something to stray and return to in order to be able to do that. I mean, I really don't go on stage with absolutely nothing to say. What I go on stage with is the confidence of something to say, and then I stray from that. So there is some homework, but I love talking to the crowd. I do the time-honored "Where are you from? What do you do for a living?" and in this way, little biographies of the audience emerge, and I use that from which to kind of set my sails. Decide which direction to go and what to talk about, and.
Well, speaking of which direction to go, your path is interconnecting with ours this week. You're going to be at the Hookie Lounge, and people, if they come out and see you, they can see someone who's been inducted into the Comedy Hall of Fame. Well, I have.
There is no literal Comedy Hall of Fame, by the way. I think they might have a website, but but what they did was they interviewed, comics that were there to be a literal Comedy Hall of Fame. They would want there, and therefore I was interviewed, among many really terrific comics, and I think they were wise to get started. I don't know if they're looking for bricks and mortar necessarily, but I think they were wise to get started because that way they got some of the greats before they died. Frankly,
that's true.
For example, they did in fact get Phyllis Diller and things like that. No sense lingering. But it was very nice to be included. And by the way, I cannot wait to go to the Hukilau in Chicopee for a couple of reasons. One is that I have OCD, and just saying the Hukilau in Chicopee over and over again is one of the great delights of my life.
It's a lot of syllables. Yeah, it's a mouthful.
The Hukilau in Chicopee. Yeah, it is really fun.
Hey, now lastly, you're a very funny lady. You've done NPR, you've written books, but you're also a philanthropist, and you work closely with libraries. What's the importance of libraries in our time?
Hopefully, so that our society isn't stupid.
Amen to that.
I think if I were to sum it up in one blunt phrase, that would be it.
Yeah.
Libraries are great places. I mean, they're they're noisier than they used to be.
That's true. Everyone's typing on their keyboards now. No one reads books anymore.
No, people do read books, and there's lots of them in there, and it's my favorite part. It's hands down my favorite part are the books in there. But in fact, there are DVDs, there are meeting rooms, there are lecture halls. It depends on the library, of course. There are computers, there are often classes, there are homework groups, there are teen lounges, there are, Mad magazines, and there are all those things, but my favorite thing is the books.
Well, Paula, we're out of time. I want to thank you for coming on, but just before you go, do you want to say Hukilau in Chicopee one more time?
I do, the Hukilau in Chicopee, the Hukilau in Chicopee. I'm not sure I can say it only one more time.
Well, I mean, we've got time. After the interview, we'll talk more. Hey, thank you so much. It was really a pleasure chatting with you.
Thanks. It was nice talking to you. Thank you.
So don't miss Paula Poundstone coming to the Hukilau in Chicopee this weekend. And for more information, visit us online, mymassappeal.com, later today.